I think automatically we can start.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. My name is Dr. Tausif Malik, and today is the Halal Ethical Startups Weekend Series UK. With me, we have a co-host, Mr. Akram Haq. He's also traveling, and we also have a panelist, Ms. Saida Ahmed. She's also traveling. So very interesting thing on the go we are doing. Akram is one of our partners and co-host. He runs a very popular news channel, The Policy Times, and he is also the board member for Halal Angels Network. And Akram, you can take it from there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Malik. Welcome our esteemed speakers to this very important webinar on ethical startups. So there are two aspects to it when we introduce this topic. Number one, being ethical. In today's context, being ethical is extremely important because it minimizes the risk of losing and maximizes the gains. So, globally, the first step of education should be the basic moral values. How we can sustainably explore or leverage the resources that we have, whether they are national resources, individual resources, or global resources. For example, if it is ocean, then are we taking care of the ocean or using the resources of the ocean in the most sustainable manner are the questions. The second thing is startup are foundational concepts of nation building or global development. So if we club these two things together, it brings huge positive change at the local level as well as national level. I think we have 3 eminent speakers to talk on that. We will miss Saida ma'am on this. So we have, I think, Dr. Malik. Yeah, I welcome Mr. Al-Khatib. So if your internet connection is okay, sir, we'll start with you. I'll introduce, Asif, can you share the screen of the creative so that we introduce our speaker?
Before Mr. Muhammad Al-Khatib starts his presentation, I want to introduce him. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's Egyptian British, and he's globe-trotting across the globe. And he's also into sustainable, agriculture and farm to fork concept. And the other speaker, Mr. Damien Muhammad, he is the strategic partner for CPI. CPI is a very renowned agency from the UK, which talks about startups, ethical, innovative. And Saida Ahmed is a very old friend of mine, a colleague, a partner. She's also the board member for Halal Angels Network, and she runs a very popular EdTech platform for years before EdTech became something called Educational Partners UK. And she's also working in the halal space, and she's a very renowned speaker globally on talking about ethical education and halal. So, we start with Mr. Al-Khatib, and is his presentation being shared?
Yeah. Asif, can you share the presentation? Asif. Yeah, Asif, can you share the screen? Yeah.
Mohammed, can you share your screen if possible? You are mute, Mohammed.
Okay, I'll try and share my screen for you.
No, he's carrying it. Not this presentation, Asif.
Okay. Very
the
good.
last one. Yeah, let Mr. Mohammed share his screen.
Yeah. Perfect.
Can you see everything now?
Yeah, we can see Mohammed. You can do Bismillah.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Tawseef, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I hope I can add some value in the presentation. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, here we go. So, the
Can you speak a little loud,
title of
Mr.
my
Mohammed? Your voice is very low.
Really? I'm speaking as loud as possible, but is that better?
Yeah, if you can, try to speak a little louder.
Fine, Dr. Malik. We can hear.
We can.
Okay. So, the title of the presentation, my tips for a UK startup, and how you end up riding jets. I put this misleading photo. It looks like a jet, but actually it was a little plane, which gave me a massive heart attack recently. Only 8 seats in it. I was very, very scared, but the picture is obviously very deceiving, but hopefully it can be inspiring as well as deceiving. So I'm going to, in the 10 minutes I have, give you a very quick overview of me today, give you some tips, and then give a quick summary. So who am I? My name is Mohammed Al-Khatib. I'm a British Egyptian. Entrepreneurship is in my blood. I've always been hustling since a young age, always been trying to make money. In 1993, I had 2 mobile phones in my pocket. So I've always been trying to make money somehow. I'm always negotiating, always trying to get the best deal I can. It's just in my blood, I guess, because of the Egyptian side. But with a high degree of professionalism, I hope, and that's probably the British side, if I'm being a little bit cheeky there. I'm a digital nomad. So what that means is I have no home. I've rented out my house in London, and I literally just travel from one country to the next on business and pleasure. I spend 2-3 months in a country or a city, and then I move on with my life. We go to the next place. I do a lot of business mentoring. I'm a big Liverpool fan, and I'm a big photographer. So all the photos you see here are probably taken by me, or I've inputted it for a specific reason, photography-wise. Just before I quickly jump in, so the reason I guess I know Dr. Tawseef is because I'm one of the co-founders of a company called the Single Origin Food Company. We basically deal with, we source food, single ingredients from small farms and mines all over the world. We make sure that the farm is organic, non-GMO, there is no child labor, there is no slave labor. If the farms fit all of those descriptions, and we do business, we bring the product straight into America. We have a brand, we're in retail stores, and then we have a few ethical and sustainable themes, if you like. So one of them is for every unit we sell, we provide a free meal for a hungry child. We do this via a lunchbox program in Kenya. We have 700 kids. That's just one of many initiatives we have. We've used people with disabilities to pack our product. So we're always innovating, always bringing new things to the table to be sustainable and ethical. So on to my first tip, which is apprenticeship. I come across so many people that basically their business fail. Most businesses fail, and they fail in their first year. So I'm not a fan of people just jumping into business. I think you need to do apprenticeships. In the picture here, you'll see my uncle. He's one of my mentors. He's a professor. He's one of the advisors to the president. And you see my cousin who's 30 years old. My uncle mentored me. I mentor my cousin. That's the chain. I get a lot of advice from people. Who am I rolling with? I'm always trying to be with people who are better than me. I also try and be with people who financially are worse than me, so I can appreciate what I have as well. So I don't lose my ground. And then I'm constantly learning. There's always evolution. I don't ever sit down and think I've got it all sorted now. I'm constantly trying to learn, trying to develop myself. And then the final thing is just a little tip. I love watching Dragon's Den. For any entrepreneur, you should watch Dragons, and you can learn so much because you get an exposure to really rich, sound, solid business people that you wouldn't normally get exposure to. That's my first tip. Become an apprentice, shadow someone, go into a small business or a big business, but learn from them first before jumping into your own business. Second thing, people always talk to me about what makes a business successful. I've got a great idea. Actually, I don't believe ideas are what make businesses successful. It's people that make businesses successful. You need a good team with you. And the reason ideas are not so important, actually, if you look at what's happened recently with COVID, and all the issues we've had there now, war in Ukraine, whatever, you're going to have obstacles all the time. So having good idea, fine, but you may have stumbling blocks. So you need good people with good brains, experience. They can help you get through hard times, and they can drive you to go to the next level, even when things are going well. And then ongoing support. You always need that mentoring, that guidance to take you through challenges in the business. Right, another problem I see with Tafay. There are two key things I think you need to have when you start a business, something called a brand essence document. If you just look in marketing, you'll understand what essence documents are. And then the second thing is you need to have a business plan, which has three key things: the profit and loss, cash flow, balance sheet. The guy here on the right-hand side in the picture, this is Faisal. We've actually recruited him specifically as a strategy officer. He looks after the business plan, the forecasting. That's how much we've dedicated ourselves within the business to controlling our destiny through our business plans and our forecasting. Tip number 4, prepare for success. People always talk about having plan B, preparing for the worst, but actually, let's also be optimistic and prepare for success. You don't just have bad times, you have good times. If you launch a product and suddenly it catches or go, basically, you need to be able to handle the delivery. You need to be able to handle the customer service. If you suddenly get loads of calls, if you get loads of inquiries, you need to have the right inventory available if you go. So preparing for success, the growth of it, the scalability is what you have on trend. Really, really critical thing is what you have. Is it copyrighted? Is it trademarked, or can it be copied? Because if you have a good idea and you launch and you announce yourself, bigger companies can come in and copy it. So you have to be really tight with the copyrights and trademark. Another thing is you have to think big. So many people are just stuck in small environments. Think small, and you've got to think big. And investment is critical for growth. In the UK specifically, there's something called an EIS scheme. You should all research this because it's very, very critical for the investors you bring on board if they can benefit from the EIS scheme. And then don't be shy in trying to find partnerships and collaboration with others. Tip number 6, read, study. Don't be stagnant. So I've listed here some key books that have helped me. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Make sure you do the exercises at the end of every chapter. How to Influence People, critical book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks a bit more about diversity and how to make money passively. And then E-Myth, a classic book, which will just talk you through the challenges you go through if you start up a small business and how you try and grow. Summary here, I'm saying be consciously competent. So be good and know why you are good. These 2 photos here I've showed you. The top one is before an edit. The second one is after it's edited. If you don't know how to edit, if you don't know how to be creative, if you don't know how to be innovative, you'll be stuck.
Mohammed, you're concluding? You concluded? Can you hear us? Mr. Mohammed? Akram, I think we have lost Mr. Mohammed. Can we introduce, the next speaker? I would like to invite Mr. Damian Mohammed, the next speaker. He's a very, very dynamic young professional, but at the same time, he's with a very big organization which talks about startups, innovations in the UK, and he's an expert in that area. So I would like to invite Damian Mohammed, to share his presentation views in this webinar series.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. As Dr. Malik mentioned, I've spent quite a number of different years across the UK. Spent 12 years in London, supporting businesses expand into the UK, and now I'm based in the northwest of England. And I support businesses setting up in the UK as well as innovating from the UK through a company called CPI. Do you want me to share my slides so I can then run through them, or should I just say next slide?
You can share your own presentation now, Mr. Mohammed.
No, it's fine. You've got it up, so I'll leave it with you. So I'll just say next slide when I want to move on. So just go back to the front. Thank you. If you just go back one. Thank you. Yes. So the company I work for is called CPI. It's the Centre for Process Innovation. So what we do is we support businesses in innovation through technology, and we're part funded by the government's Catapult scheme. So this is part of the Innovate UK section of the government, which is there to fund and support any company looking to innovate. Our specific one is around high value manufacturing, but I'll let you know about the different types of catapults that are out there depending on your business. So our particular expertise are around kind of innovative businesses in life sciences and manufacturing. But there are specific people that can help with digital businesses, etc. as well. So I'll just move on to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, so our ethos is to help businesses from innovation to commercialization. So if you've got an idea for a business and you've got a prototype or something you want to actually physically get off the ground, we will help you take from that idea stage and get it to a commercial viable business that you can go to market with. And we help that with products and processes. Next slide, please. What we strive ourselves on is kind of aligned with most countries within the government in the UK, and probably most governments around the world, is about creating a healthy society, a cleaner environment, and a vibrant economy. And that comes back to the ethical side of this webinar, is that I think it's really important to ensure that you're not just starting a business for your own benefit and to make money. Actually, it's about supporting the lives of the people, helping them be healthier, helping the environment be cleaner and greener, and also ensuring that people, no matter what walk of life, get a fair shot. So helping the actual economy itself. And what we're trying to do is help all great inventions actually be successful and get those to market. Next slide, please. So as mentioned before, we're part of, we're funded by the UK government, but we also have private funds as well. So you see the line across here. This is the UK government's on the side. Part of that is a department called is BAYS, but actually the section that we get our funding from is UK Research and Innovation. And part of that is Innovate UK. So Innovate UK have a number of different ways of which funding, and I'll come on to it later around the grants that they're able to offer as well. But they fund a number of different catapults, and those catapults are everything from digital through to energy supply and lots of different areas. But our specific catapult is focused on high value manufacturing, but there are different companies that are very similar to ourselves that can offer the same sort of support, whatever sector you're in. So don't take this as support that we can offer, but actually if it's not right for you, we can introduce you to different parts of the catapult that can support you. And our focus really is to help growth in jobs, business and academic research as well. Next slide, please. So where do we come into the mix? So you've got your research, your invention, and then there's a commercial market where you want to sell it. So our focus really is that bit in the middle, which is often the hardest bit, is taking that idea and making it, getting it onto the market. So we help deliver, de-risk, accelerate to get your concepts to successful products. So we're that core part at the middle, using public and private collaboration. And collaboration is really, really important here. Next slide, please. So this is the different ways we do this. So we have over 500 scientists, engineers that can help support your product development. We have over 120 million pounds worth of assets, so machines, robots, big kind of factories. We have different ways in which you can support. We've got labs and people that can help with the technical side of things, but we also have a team that can help secure funding as well. So that whether this is private investment, which again I'll come on to later, so we can invest ourselves, or we can support you with investment from other areas, other parts of the UK, and also there are grant funds available from the UK government and other sources as well, from Europe, etc., that can help fund your innovation. And then the last thing really is about, we have a team that can help with your innovation process. It's not just about creating a product, it's about how do we get your business off the ground. So using a consultancy side, which can help reduce the risk on that side of things. Next slide, please. So these are sorts of businesses that we help. So anything from kind of pharmaceuticals, medtech, agri-tech, which is kind of in the agricultural sector, food and drink, fast-moving consumer goods, logistics, electronics, energy, automotive, aerospace, and specialty chemicals and materials. Next slide, please. And our different business units that we have that can support these, we have a team specifically for all of these different areas, and a building for each, with labs and scientists and engineers within each lab. So our core focus is biotechnology, photonics, printed electronics, hybrid electronics, digital, pharmaceuticals, and formulations. And our team support all of those areas. Next slide, please. And as I said right at the beginning, around that kind of healthy society and more greener and sustainable, these are kind of the core values of us. So helping with the healthcare innovation, helping governments and regions and companies achieve their net zero targets, which I know that a lot of different countries have different dates, but the UK, I think it's 2050, but the Manchester has, and the region that I work in is around 2030, for us to have the net zero target. And all of these things at this stage that we're at in the world has to be digitally enabled and backed by data, because obviously you can have all these fantastic things, but unless you've got the digital aspect and the data to go with it, it's not going to necessarily reach the market very well. So that's a core value that drives everything that we do. Next slide, please. So how can we help you? So collaboration, investment, and grant applications. So we will look at the project that you've got and say, okay, what is it you're trying to achieve? Is there a product out there that we can help you develop? How do we get the funding for it? So have you got funding yourself, or can we help you get other funding? So we're looking at potentially getting some funding to build your project, but also to help your business build as well. So maybe we'll say our section of that would be, say, £80,000 for us to get this product off the ground, and you'll need another £120,000 for your marketing, for you building your team. So we'll have kind of a full proposal of maybe £200,000. We will then put that, our bid writers internally will write that bid with you in close collaboration, to write a proposal to submit to government to say, okay, we need £200,000 to get this business off the ground. We'll do our bit in terms of the development of the product and the process. You'll do your bit about building the team and the marketing, etc. And then hopefully that will also unlock some private investment from individual angel investors, or from other grants, other equity investors that are out there, which again, I'll come on to a little bit later. Next slide, please. So yeah, the key thing really is that whether you've got the funds right now or you need them in the future, we're really there to support you getting the funds to get this business off the ground at the right time. Next slide, please. We've been running for over 18 years. We've developed over 1,200 different products and projects worth over 480 million. We've worked with 1,400 businesses, majority of which are small and medium-sized companies. This number on our staff is actually quite out of date. We're nearly on 600 now in terms of our staff. So this was only last year. So we've grown by a good kind of 20% in the last year, which is fantastic. And our annual turnover the year before was about £63 million through funds and through private work as well. Next slide, please. So, as just to kind of reiterate before, we'll help you prove your concept and scale it up. We'll help reduce the risk by looking into things internally, so you don't have to invest in your own equipment, into your own labs and other teams and technological people within the team. We can actually support that with our own team internally. We also, sorry, Mohammed, I'm just going to put you on mute. Sorry. Yeah, and also to decrease the time to market, because hopefully we can cut through all the things that we've done in the past. We can use our experience and our expertise to get things to market a lot quicker than you might be able to do yourself, because we've got that expert team behind us and we've been able to do it many, many times before. So we know the best way of getting from A to B much quicker and hopefully more cost effectively as well than doing it by yourself. Next slide, please. Working together with CPI, next slide. So this is support that we could do. So we've got the knowledge, the resource, the facility. We've got a network of investors, and I'll come on to in a second what those investors look like and how we can support with that. We can get you to the place you need to be by reducing the risk and hopefully getting you to profitability as soon as possible. There's also the complex landscape of grants in the UK. There's many, many grants out there, but it's often quite hard to navigate those and find out which are the right ones for you as a business. We also help you with data as well. So when you are going to investors, you can say this product or this service or solution has been developed by or in conjunction with CPI or one of the catapults, depending on whatever sector that you're in. But take this as almost like a template for other support that's available from the other catapults that we have, and that data will then be able to be shown to the investors to say we've done all our research and this is the product, and then hopefully it gives a bit more confidence to the investor that's looking to put money into your business that you've got the best product possible. We've got a number of different resources on hand as well that we can support you with, and we can also look at getting you into the supply chain. So, for example, we have the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre that we're launching in Glasgow, which is a huge building up in by the Glasgow airport, and that support there really is for SMEs to work with large pharmaceutical businesses. So on board we have GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, all there to help find the industry problems that are out there, and then we're supporting SMEs in getting into those companies to help provide those solutions for the problems that are offered there. So rather than you coming up with a product that might work, actually what we're doing here is you've got a specific area that you can support with because you know that the end user is there. Next slide, please. Different ways we can work, as I mentioned. If you've got the funds already, we could do a straight up fee for service. If you want to work with us in a collaboration, then we can do the things that we said before. If you haven't got the funds, we can work together on a joint bid for UK government funding. Or we also have some funding support for certain regions for SME support, which is fully funded service, which doesn't cost anyone any money as long as you're based in the right regions. Next slide, please. I'll skip over this one. I think we've already covered this one already. Next slide, please. So this is important. This is additional stuff. So this is not just CPI now. This is looking at, if you're looking to set up in the UK, here's some of the support that I think is the best from my experience in working with businesses overseas. So I've spent a lot of time in kind of China, India, and in the US as well, and supporting businesses that are looking to set up in the UK. So the best organizations that can help you do that, the core one is the Department for International Trade, but then you've got individual business councils for each region. So if you're based in India, there's a UK Business India Council. If you're based in Southeast Asia, there's a UK Asian Business Council, was one for Pakistan, one for the UAE. So whatever region you're based in, there's always a business council to support you in setting up in the UK. And then the other key thing is each region within the UK has its own regional arm that will support that. So in Scotland, there's one. Within the UK, there's one specifically for London called London and Partners, which I've worked with quite a bit in the past. There's one that I'm working with now in Greater Manchester called Midas. They're the Inward Investment arm, and there's one in the northeast of England as well. So wherever you're looking to set up, there is a team on the ground that will help you find the right location to set up in, help you with the funding, and all the different things that you can help set up in the business, as well as the kind of the usual business consultancy services that are offered there. And the last slide, next slide, please, is just to make you aware of the different types of funding. So I'm aware of, conscious of time, so I'll whiz through this quickly, but there are 3 different types of funding that you need to be aware of. So grant funding can come from UK research innovation through Innovate UK grants and other such types within the UKRI. There's also European funding still available, even though we've kind of left the EU, we still have access to EU funding. And there's also, each region has its own grants. Within the debt side of things, we have startup loans, which are applicable for people up to kind of really small loans up to £25,000, but we have much bigger loans available to people in different regions. So there's Northern Powers Investment Fund, I think, can lend up to £250,000. British Business Bank, there's bank loans you can have, and crowd-funded loans as well. And then the equity side of things, I think this is obviously really important as well, is the angel investments is quite large. Obviously, Halal Angels are a key player and really important to the UK, but there are lots of other angel investment groups out there. There's regional investment from certain areas, again, such as the Northern Powers Investment Fund. And then we have SEIS, which I think, and EIS, which Mohammed mentioned earlier. We have venture capital investment. So this is more large. This is more like a £1 million plus investments for larger businesses. And then corporate venture capital is really important. That's companies investing into early stage businesses to support them. And finally, crowd-funded investments such as Crowdcube, where people can individually put in, say, £100 each to help you build your equity investment, and they will get a share of your business. And next slide, please. I think that's the final slide. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. And anyone wants to contact me, here's my contact details. If anyone wants any links sent for any of the organisations that I've highlighted earlier, please also let me know, and I'm happy to share those with you.
Thank you so much, Damien, for your informative presentation, which talks about the landscape, funding, and challenges. All those things you try to help around. So post the next speaker, we'll do question answer session and draw a conclusion. How people can avail these facilities with you. I would like to invite Saida Ahmed, the next speaker, to talk about. She's a serial entrepreneur, global speaker, a renowned personality. Saida, are you there? Can we hear you?
Indeed. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. And because I'm the last speaker, I'm going to try and leave some space for the other speakers to be able to ask questions and answers. But I think more than anything, I think I'd like to kind of start my presentation by saying that the halal economy is a really poorly understood economy. And for that reason, I think that we need to start with trying to define what the halal economy stands for. This isn't about food, or it isn't about meat or lack of alcohol, but actually it's an economy which is based on values and ethical values, which embed social and environmental responsibility. It embeds suppliers' rights. It embeds the values of the environment, of animals, of people around us in the community. And as a result, if we can just go on to the first slide, please. As a result, I think what we need to do is, when we're defining this, we need to look at the opportunities that come with this. So it's over $2 trillion globally, of which large part of it is not currently met. Over 80% of this economy is not met. The needs of the economy are not met. And in that 20%, the large proportion of the players in there are actually multinationals. So when you look at startups, the opportunity for people within that space is phenomenal, but they're actually not seeing the wood for the trees. It's not about food or meat on its own. It's about tourism, ethical tourism, hospitality, the fashion industry, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, finance, and so forth. And there is substantial inward investment opportunities for various countries, but also to create multilateral trade and investment, as well as startup programs. So on a national and international level, it can actually be a conduit for jump-starting economies and enabling enterprise in local areas, both those that are doing well, but also those areas that need economic and social regeneration. So if we can just go to the next slide, please. So I think that, as I mentioned, it's already seen as only about to do with animals and eating meat that's been slaughtered in a certain way. And really, we need to redefine that. We need to see the wider value base that it sits upon and the ecosystem. I'm really sorry there's background noise because I'm traveling today. We need to make sure we embed the values of Sayyib, which is cleanliness, health, well-being, wellness in there. And Halal Sayyib as a value base is so important now in the current times because of the post-COVID recovery and the idea that we as people need to be resilient, not just the pandemic, but to the economic situation that's come about as a result of this pandemic. Next line, please. Next slide, please. So we need to put into this the opportunity for startups, not just to look at commercial opportunities, but to look at the social and the environmental opportunities to make a difference, as well as to see if our halal startups can be in this space that tackle issues to do with net zero or climate change, or to make a difference to the lives of people, or to move away from factory farming and so forth. I think what's really important is tackling world issues and at the same time fulfilling our Islamic responsibility of Hukukul Ibad, or responsibility to all of creation. The opportunity here, as the previous speaker said, is about collaboration and using the opportunities for manufacturing, job creation, enterprise development, and so forth, as well as social impact and the sustainable development goals. The United Nations has asked all countries all over the world feed the halal economy could feed right into those SDG targets. So the question is how do we do this? How can we actually enable this profit investment and redistribution to happen? So it's not just benefiting the few at the expense of the many, but actually it's benefiting the many together. And I think that this is where we need to start looking at collaborations and recognizing that we don't have to work in silos. COVID created opportunities to work across sectors, across backgrounds. And I think for entrepreneurs to work across backgrounds, interest areas, to share knowledge and to educate, to start with the academic education over enterprise training and vocational and technical students and children support in doing well in school, but actually not to be entrepreneurs and to not give people the freedom. And I think this is where sort of the starting point. So any enterprise programs needs to be working together at the same time in synergy with the education system and redesigning that so it values enterprise outcomes just as much as academic outcomes. Next slide, please. So I've already mentioned the type of products that can be included in halal. Next slide, please. So I think the opportunities are about rebranding and redefining what halal is, developing global halal responsibility academies, which I've already started. We've also got a marketplace which we'll be launching, which will focus on not just products that are halal, but products that are halal and socially responsible. And developing a holistic social responsibility and environmental responsibility ecosystem. We're always looking for collaborations and partnerships. Next slide, please. And these are my contact details. So thank you so much, everyone. You're open to ask questions now, I think, or so see what would be the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Saida, for the presentation. Thank you, Damien, and thank you, Muhammad Al-Khattab. I think you guys should open your mic and cameras so we can have a talk together. Damien, can you switch on your camera and your mic? And Mr. Muhammad Al-Khattab. Saida, can we see you? So we can, discuss.
I can. You can. Yes, I'm just traveling, so I've just got onto the train. Sorry.
Okay, not an issue. All three of you are from the UK, and I'm from America. But when you look at in Europe, UK is far more progressive in the business with less restrictions. Even opening a business license is very, very affordable, very easy to go when compared with other European countries. So when I look at everyone's presentation and even working in the UK earlier, I see the ecosystem is very, very fast, innovative, and there's a lot of grants and things. How do you see, when you compare with America or rest of the world, how do you see UK startup ecosystem or the halal system or entrepreneurship space, attracting other people from other countries to come and start a business? So I would like to start with Saida first, then I'll go to Damien and then Mohammed.
Sorry, who are you starting with, Nasif?
Sorry? My question
I think Saida's on a train, so should I go first and then?
Yeah, sure.
Just while she's getting settled down, she just boarded a train. So the UK's got some really attractive visa programs for people setting up businesses. So there used to be a thing called the Tier 1 Entrepreneur Visa. That's now been replaced by the Innovator Visa and the Startup Visa, and there's also a new one called the Scale Up Visa as well. So depending on the size of the business, whether it's just one individual who is an entrepreneur or it's a company wanting to expand their business into the UK, there's a visa system to help you do that. And obviously there's certain regulations around kind of English language, which most business people should have that basic level anyway to do business in the UK, and there's not massive restrictions in terms of financials. So it used to be £200,000 minimum to invest in the UK to set up here. Now it's only £50,000, which is much more achievable for many people from other countries to set up here, and that allows you to set up your business and set up a team here and develop your business in the UK. So they are quite willing, and it's been quite a lot of negative news around the UK immigration system and UK not wanting people. That's not true. It's about people that are looking to add value to the UK economy and start businesses. There's definitely a willingness for the UK to do that. And as you said, it's fairly easy to set up a business in the UK. It costs like £15 to register it on Company's House. You need a UK bank account, which shouldn't be that difficult either. So I think it's fairly easy to set up a business in the UK, and there's a lot of support out there from the government and other specific organisations to help you set that business up.
Mohammed, can you share your views about the startup ecosystem, the halal economy? What are the opportunities in the UK? Because digital nomad, so you know more about different countries, and then you compare vis-a-vis with your home country, UK.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's a straightforward answer. We set up our business in America, and we needed to. We had to be registered there for certain reasons. And all the directors and owners are British. And this has caused an absolute disaster in terms of trying to get any financing or credit, because they can't do credit checks on you. We can't secure anything because we're all British, we needed to have an American tax number individually, and we don't. Okay. I've also set up offshore companies in Panama and Dubai previous. Okay. Everything is relevant to your specific situation, and I would strongly advise that you seek advice from lawyers and accountants as to where you set up. Yes, it's easy to set up in England, but is your business in England or is it out of England? Are you trading abroad? There's too many factors for that to be a straightforward answer. Yes, it's simple to set up in England, but then it has tax implications, annual costs, and so on and so forth. So I think every situation has to be taken on its merit, on its requirements, on its strategy, medium and long term. It's too simplistic a question to say yes UK or no UK.
Saida, can you share your view if you can,
Yes, yes. I was going to that. For me, I think that setting a startup in the UK is relatively easy. However, to set up a halal startup, there's a lot of mistrust around it. We've had, for example, where we've tried to apply for bank accounts for new startups, etc., and the amount of distrust and anxiety around anything that's sort of Muslim is quite an issue. So I think that really the opportunity for halal to be kind of entrenched better within the policy framework and statutory framework and to jointly benefit from it, both as a company, but also the government in the UK. There's some work that needs doing around that. And I've been told openly from government agencies that there's a worry because it's always kind of put in the agriculture department. People are worried about activists getting upset about it and so forth because it's poorly understood and only associated with meat. So really, I think that the opportunity for halal hasn't even been touched yet properly in the UK. And yes, there's lots of grants and other things available for startups. However, in this space, a lot more work needs doing that goes across government, goes across academia, goes across investors. Because I worry that halal is eventually going to become a silo for Islam to use in ethical products could actually take part in and enjoy.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Damon, there's a question for you. Somebody is asking if you have to, write a proposal for funding. What are the key paperwork required for funding? Like tax, whatever, basic.
Yes. So I think it's, to get the funding, often you've got to be kind of have a setup base here. So they're not going to fund a business overseas, the UK government, because obviously the point of the funding is to create jobs and add to the UK economy. So they're not going to fund a business over there. So I think before you do those things, you need to have found a partner to help you set up here. So as I mentioned before, the Department of International Trade is probably the best port of call, but also the Business Council within every country. I saw one person earlier from India just put a question as well. I'd speak to the UK India Business Council, which I've worked with them in India, and they have a base out there, and they have a base in the UK. They have a number of different people across India that can support that, and there's a team in Bangalore actually, which I think this person was from DIT, which I've worked with previously as well. So get that support to help set up in the UK, and then you can start exploring funding. But no one's going to lend you money or invest in you or give you a grant unless you have a base here. So I think that's the first thing to do. Okay. Sorry. The question is
from the UK.
Okay, right. So that's a different question then. If you're based here, there's a number of different people that you can help get support from. I've just put a link in for how you can get different types of funding. So if you click on that link that I've put in the chat, that's everything from grants to equity investment, different types of support that's out there from UK government. And then to get the proposal forward, you will need to speak to them and ask them what the requirements are. So everyone will have a different thing, but you will need to have a business plan and show some of those key things that you've mentioned here around profit and loss, balance sheet, etc. So if you have all those things, then you should be fine to be able to apply those. But have a look at the different types of funding available there. There are also, just worth noting, there are now new ways of getting loans that are halal. So there are different support out there. I'll try and find some links and share it with you, Dr. Malik, that you can share with all the attendees. But there's a company I've worked with previously which allows for kind of Sharia compliant lending, which is not through interest, but actually there's other ways of kind of funding those loans. So there's there are Sharia compliant loan opportunities in the UK as well. So there are options that are relevant for halal businesses.
Oh, that's very interesting, because a lot of people assume there's no funding out there. And maybe that announcement has to be done by the government and the previous company you worked for, that there are Sharia compliant loans available. Because,
yeah, well, it's not government based. It's private companies that have a Muslim background that have seen a gap in the market. So the government haven't developed Sharia compliant loans or Sharia compliant finance, but individual businesses have found that gap and are plugging that gap now. And there are a couple of businesses that I'll try and send out to you that you can share with everyone.
Damien, do they do?
Yeah,
do they only lend for real estate?
No, it's for companies. No, it's for specifically for companies. So if you're a company and you want to get a loan, there's a different way of kind of working around the interest rate to ensure that everyone has a fair game. So it's about you putting money into a pot as someone with money, and then someone getting that money back, and then you can get something back in the future, but it's not classed as interest. There's a way around doing it that is fully compliant with Sharia law.
Because,
I can send you some details.
Sure. Please, yeah. Like, since a year and a half, we have been talking about, doing something in the UK and the halal ethical, and UK can be the gateway for halal financing. Mm-hmm. But this information I couldn't gather from the net or my research team.
Yeah.
So maybe, the people involved in this, maybe we can work together. There's a lot of people who want to come and set up shop in the UK. The primary reason is visa is easier compared to the US. Mm-hmm. Even when you set up a company in the US, you can't get a residence permit very fast, or a work permit, or business visa. It becomes a challenge. UK is pretty easy in that. So there's a lot of businesses, especially from the Middle East, who want to branch out or establish a HO in the UK and then make the Middle East office as a branch office. Mm-hmm. So maybe that information, maybe we can do a specific thing with you and other people in the space about halal financing in the UK. That would be a great thing.
That's fine. I'll do that.
Other thing is, COVID, after COVID, how attractive is the UK market now? Because the US is booming, it's like rocket. Things have exploded. Inflation has exploded. The great resignation. How is UK doing in that space? So if you have to set up a business, is it challenging now because the economy is booming or something like that?
Mohammed, do you want to take that, or shall I?
No, I don't think it's changed, is it? Feel free to expand.
Yeah, I don't see much change really. I think the changes have been about how you work. So Mohammed's a prime example of that, being able now to digitally work anywhere you want. Is a digital nomad, and that's fantastic. And I think that's now become more accessible for UK people. So you don't have to be based in the city centre of London. You don't have to be based in the city centre of Manchester to have a thriving business. You can base anywhere, because so many people are now willing to work virtually. So actually, I think it's made life a little bit easier in the sense that you can run a business in the UK and still speak to your team in India or the Middle East, because everyone's now willing to work more virtually. So actually, I feel like it's added more simply now to be able to work globally and regionally without that having to have offices everywhere and spend fortunes on city centres.
100%.
Mohammed, what's your view? Because you're a digital nomad, you rent out your property in the UK, and that offloads certain costs, because traveling across the globe on a British passport is pretty easy. And then remotely, as Damien said, it's pretty easy now. I spoke to a lot of people from the UK. They have been traveling for years now, and they have a company in the UK. So maybe COVID has, endorsed the fact that it's easy to do now. So Mohammed, your view on that?
I didn't quite hear you, man. The volume was a bit low, and I couldn't quite
my
hear
thing
what
was,
you were saying.
As a digital nomad from the UK, and because technology has made things easy to work out, whether you have a company in the UK, but you can offload your cost. You can rent out your property and travel across the globe on a cheaper budget. So does it help your business because you save money in the UK, and then you kind of operate your business?
Yeah, no. Of course it does. I mean, Damien explained you don't have to have pointless offices now. You don't have to. But even forget all of that. Just your own mindset. Like a lot of people have left the UK because of the issue with the life-work balance. You go during the winter. You go into work at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. It's dark, and then you come out after.
I think we've lost him.
Getting calls that cut me off. So you don't see the sun for 2-3 months if you go to work. So being in a better mindset, you'll get more productivity out of yourself. So you save on costs, you save on effort, you improve your life. But I'm fortunate because I don't have children. I've got a British passport, so I can go most places without issue. But if you're Egyptian, you live in an open air prison. You can't get a visa. So not so easy to just blanket, make it sound easy. If you got a British passport, yeah, you've got opportunities. But if you haven't, it's a real problem.
Okay. So let's do concluding remarks because I think you guys have covered everything. And so concluding remarks about, ethical market, startups, a small summary, how you feel about it. And, we can conclude this webinar there. David, you can start.
Yeah. Just put another link in there for the Department of International Trade. So anyone that is looking from overseas to come into there. I think the key thing really, I talked about my company quite a lot, mainly because it's an example. We're not the only company that does it. So it's not a sales pitch, it's more of an example of the support that's offered in the UK by a number of different organizations to help you not just set up here, but actually to help you get your idea off the ground. And it's not just in the kind of space that we work in, life sciences and manufacturing. Actually, there's one for digital, there's one for different areas. So there's the support network in the UK. So my key takeaway from today is work with partners. Like don't try and do this by yourself. There's people out there. The government funds a lot of different areas within innovation, and across the UK there's different regions that really want to set up businesses set up in their regions. So they will pay you almost to come and set up here. They will pay for grants, they'll give you tax reliefs and that sort of thing. So make sure you utilize the support that's already exists and don't try and do this yourself. Setting up in the UK or even expanding if you're already based in the UK to get funding, work with partners to do that. That's my takeaway.
Mohammed?
I would say two things. I massively encourage people becoming entrepreneurs and trying to gain a degree of financial freedom, but do it in a measured, prepared way. If you want to be a doctor or a butcher, you don't just jump into it. You've got to study, you've got to learn the game. So be prepared. The second thing is ethical and sustainable are very on-trend words, topics. And often people or businesses get involved in this just to tick a box. So there is a lack of authenticity and sincerity, and people start seeing through it now. So I would just make sure you check your intentions and be sincere with what you're doing, rather than, let me, I've got an idea and let me see how I can make it ethical. That's, people will see through that. So just refine the intentions and focus on what's good. Hopefully it's ethical and sustainable as well. And if it's not, rethink it, but be sincere, be authentic. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question, Damon, just run my mind. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing the Japan weekend, and there were two people. One is Alex from, he's a very renowned guy in the startup industry, and he represents Shibuya district of Japan, which is a suburb of Tokyo, which was the first city to issue startup visa. And then we had a lady from Fukuoka city. The city is promoting startups to come there. Is there something like that in the UK?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier. There's a regional split for grants. There's for loans, for equity investment. There's every region in the UK wants businesses to set up there. They've all got a focus on inward investment. So everyone wants people to set up there. So they'll have their own strengths. So don't just pick a city because it sounds good. Or it's got a good football team. Pick a city because it's got look at your sector and look at the strengths of that city. So have they got the right workforce there? So if you want to build a team, have they got the skills there? Have they got an ecosystem of people that you can work with? Have they got funding potentially for help you set up there? So look at the UK as not the same as you did with the United States. Like, it's not one country necessarily. There's lots of different regions. It is one country, but they've all got their strengths in each area. So as I said, like some of the stuff that we're doing I'm working in Liverpool. I'm on the Liverpool City Region LEP board for health and life sciences, because that's a really important thing for Liverpool. In Manchester, it's around materials. In the northeast, there's a lot of kind of manufacturing, and especially around kind of hydrogen. There's lots of different things across the UK. So make sure that when you're setting up, you find the right region and then ask them what support they can offer if you want to then set up in their area. But there is definitely grant funding out there, loans and equity investment for people looking to set up in those regions because they want your business.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Saida, if she can hear us. It was awesome to have you guys on board, because the agenda of Halal startups and ethical webinar series is to create an awareness about this huge potential, especially the ethical. We started with Halal, but we are slowly moving into the ethical space, because when Saida in her presentation said Hukukul Ibad means you take care of every stakeholder of your business. So whether it's your government, it's your community, whether it's your neighborhood, taxation, everything has to be ethical. So we started with the Halal Angels, but we are inclining towards moving into the ethical space, and that's why we thought of doing this webinar series. That way we can create this awareness, because when we started last year and planning the webinar, we didn't come across anything which is talking about ethical startups. And the more people I met, in fact, like last week we had 17,000 website hits on Halal Angels. And it was unbelievable, because we are not a news channel, but we're just an angel network. And a lot of people got connected, and they have been talking about the ethical challenges, like in America, chronic capitalism happens, even in the West it happens. But people are slowly moving, like Mohammed has moved into doing, farm to fork, very ethical way of creating honey. So I think this webinar series, which we're trying to do, we're going to put this video, we're going to share it with academia, universities, researchers, how things are moving on. And hopefully, the COVID restrictions will come down, and we want to do the Halal Ethical Investment Summit in the UK, pitch UK as, the gateway to halal and ethical financing, because UK has all the ecosystem and the DNA to be the gateway of halal and ethical financing. So with this, I would like to thank everyone again, the attendees, participants, and people who will view the video later. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a nice day.